right, so now we're going to combine these App Inventor files. I'm sure you're saying to yourself, finally. So, step one, we're going to go to Sound Effects Panel Better, the one that has this screen initialize thing we did in the prior video, so make sure you've got that. You also want to make sure that you, this is called Assign Sounds, okay? And we're going to, I put too many S's in that, I just realized that. Fix that. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to save this file as a different file name, and that way we don't lose this work. This program works, it's great, we love it. This is also something good coders do. If they have a code that does something properly and they're happy with it, even if they're going to change it later, they'll save it as it is and then rename a copy of it to move forward. So we're going to rename this project. So go down here to Save Project As, and we're going to call this Combined Sound Players. Combined Sound Players, yes, and say OK. Now the important thing is, you'll see, it takes it a second. Did it work? Did I click cancel instead of save? Uh-oh, seems like nothing. Oh, no, there we go. Good. So yeah, now it says Combined Sound Players rather than Sound Effects Panel here. If you went into your projects, you would see that you still have Sound Effects Panel Better, but now you've got Combined Sound Players. So Combined Sound Players is here. Our blocks are over here. Quickly, we want to do some things. We're going to combine these. So we know the other one had one button that you would click and scroll through the sounds. So to prepare this to receive the code from the other one, we're going to go over here and add an additional button underneath your what you've got there. And actually, to make it look a little bit better, I'm going to go to Layout and stick a horizontal arrangement in here, and then put the button inside of the horizontal arrangement. I got a little bit of an issue here. Give me a moment. Let me go to this table arrangement and make it non-visible for a moment so that I can get the button inside of the horizontal arrangement, and then go into my horizontal arrangement. I know I did that fast, but you can back it up. It's a video. Change the width to be fill parent. Say OK. And take the horizontal and make that center. So now the button's centered on there. Now I can go back to my table arrangement up here and make it visible again, and everything's all pretty. So I'm going to go over that again real quick, but you can back it up and watch it. The trick is that if you've got, if you added something and it gets to the point you can't really see what you're doing because one thing is in the way of another and you got stuff blocked up and stacked up here, don't worry too much, because all you really have to do is choose the thing that's taking up most of the space, make it invisible by clicking that temporarily, get this edited so it's the right size and shape and so forth, and then make this big thing that's taking up most of the space visible again, and it makes it so that you can access that. So that button's set up to do that. I actually want to do one more thing. Again, thinking ahead, under user interface, I'm going to put a label over here under the user interface label, and I'll put it right, can I get it in there? Right, yes, right between there. So the label goes there. I'm going to make that label's width also to be fill parent and say OK. So this gives me the ability to put some text in there. So I've got my 8 buttons, some text here that I can put in later, and a button centered because it looks nice to have it centered. That's the only reason I bothered with the horizontal arrangement. Let's go back into the sound list indexer, this other file here that we had that had only one button. I want to see that button is called button 1. The reason that's important is because when we put them together, go back to your projects, open the Combined Sound Players, let's make sure that that button also is called button 1. Now I see one up here is called button 1, lowercase is called button 2. I'm going to rename button 2 to be called button 1. Like this. I think it'll let me do that. Yeah. So that one's called button 1. So that matches the name of the code that we're going to pull in from elsewhere. So under your blocks, we have the blocks that are associated with this program. I'm going to scoot those over to the side here, and I'm going to put the code from the other program over here. Now there's lots of ways to do that, but the simplest way, it's built into the program, is this thing over here called a backpack, and it allows you to stick code over here that you want to move elsewhere. Right now I'm just going to delete it, so I'm going to go remove from backpack of this, and remove, this is stuff from some other project I was working on, and oh darn, I didn't mean to do that. Delete that. So let me go back in the backpack, right click on this, remove this from the backpack, and right click on this and remove that from the backpack. So my backpack is now empty, and you can tell it's empty because it doesn't have anything sticking in it. So now go to projects, go to my projects, go to the sound list indexer, go to the blocks there, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this set of blocks and we're going to put it inside of the backpack. You drag it over here and you drop it, and it'll actually keep this one on the screen, but if I open my backpack, there it is, a duplicate of that. We're going to grab the pointer part, stick it over here, and we're going to grab when button click and stick it over here. So those three things are now in my backpack over here. This now will allow us to go back to the combined sound players, scooch this over like this, and now click your backpack and you can pull this out. So there's the unassigned sounds. Here is the pointer, and here is the actual code that makes it scroll. It's a little big, so I'm going to move it over like this. This guy here, move this guy here. Now, there are some important things to be aware of here. One of the things to be aware of is that this is not going to work properly right now. It's close, but not quite. One of the things you want to realize is that this is a when any button command. So that means that it will operate when I click this button, and it will cause an error because this button is not in this list, and we will never put it in this list. This is supposed to be the list of the pre-assigned buttons. That button is supposed to do a different thing. So we're going to have to put some logic into this any button command that says, wait a minute, if the button is this guy, the one that does our indexing, then we won't do these tasks, we'll do these tasks instead. So that's one of the changes we're going to be looking at today. The other one is, of course, that this comes in, as you notice, with just the same sound over and over again. The reason it does that is because it doesn't have the same list of media that it had when we stuck it in the backpack. It's not a big deal. Here's what we want to do. So this will just take a few moments. This one I've got beep, baby cry, groan, you lose, honk, Taco Bell, Homer screams, and rock and roll synthwave, or Rickroll synthwave. What I want to do over here is make sure this is different sounds. These are the unassigned sounds that we scroll through. These are the assigned sounds that are pre-built into those buttons. We just want to make sure this list has different things. So Homer screams is already on that other one. So I'm going to put down baby cry. I don't think baby cry is. Oh, baby cry is over there. Sorry, wrong about that. Beep. Beep is not there. No, beep is there. Darn it, I got to choose some that aren't there. Lightsaber is not over there. Pop is not over there. And this will take you a little time if you want to pause the video for a while and go in and find these. Is Old Spice over there? Old Spice is not there. So I'll put Old Spice in this list. Where did I see Old Spice just now? Just saw it. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Old Spice is there. And you can do as many as you like. Again, all you have to do to expand it is you click on this guy here and you add an item to the end of the list. Not a big deal. Then you can duplicate this guy and stick it on there. And you could add yet another sound like sad trombone. So these sounds are different from these sounds. Do make sure that that is the case, that your assigned sounds that go to go on the button list are different than the unassigned sounds that are done with this guy here. So that problem is already taken care of. They are two unique sound lists, a list of sounds that just scroll through and a list of sounds that are assigned. And again, remember, because we wrote this, the buttons will have this text on them. So this almost works as two separate things right now. We just want to make this change. We want to set it up, and I'm going to move this when any button click here, over here. So let's take a look at these two bits of code. What we do is we want to set it up so the any button command handles when we click this other button. I do think it's going to make more sense to rename that button now. So let's go to Designer, go to that button, rename it, and we're going to call this Indexer. And it's going to play through all the different sounds and say OK. So that's called Indexer now. Over here it says when Indexer is clicked. So we want this code to go in here, but we want it to, when we click any of the buttons, we want it to execute this if the button we clicked is the indexer, and this if it's literally any other button. So to do that, you might have noticed what I said. I said if the button we click, the component, is the indexer, we want to do this code. Otherwise, or else, we want to do this. So if you go to Control, we're looking for an if then else. We're going to put that right here, and then take all of this and put it under the else portion here. So this is sort of the default code. If you click a button, by default it's going to play this. But we're going to check a condition, and that condition will be if the button we're clicking, component, is the indexer. So under Math, you can find the comparator. It's the third one down. And what this does is it checks a condition and returns true or false. If it's true, then it'll do this portion. If it's false, it'll do that portion. So we're going to say if, go here, float over this, the component. So if the button we've clicked is, and then we need the indexer, identity. Come down here, over here in your blocks on the side, indexer is here. And at the very bottom of the indexer, wait, what just happened? It's not working. Indexer, there we go. At the very bottom of the indexer list, we've got the identity of that button right there. So this is the same thing we did to get these guys. And in fact, if you didn't want to go over here, you're having trouble getting that bottom item off of there, which sometimes happens to some people. Sometimes this scroll thing here and the pop-up here overlap, and you're trying to click this thing and you're clicking that thing. It's very frustrating. If any of you have run into that, you know what I'm talking about. There is a way around that in this case. If you were unable to get the indexer by doing it that way, you could come over here and duplicate one of these, which is just a button, identity of a button. Bring it over here and drop it here, and just change this to be indexer. So that's another way to access. So when you click any button now, it will check to see if that button is indexer. If it is, then we want it to do these things. So we're going to pull this out of here and put it here. And now we don't need this separate code to handle the indexer. When we click any button, if it's the indexer, it's going to play the next sound in the indexing. If it's if it's not the indexer, if it's literally anything else, it will do this. So I'd encourage you now to play with this, see if it works. What you should get is a app that has these 8 buttons have pre-assigned sounds. You click them, they play. And this button down here, every time you click it, it scrolls to the next sound. In fact, let's change the text for that to say play next sound. And so it'll play that sound. I do want to add one more thing. On this guy here, this label, first off, let me make the text be in the center because it's always prettier when it's in the center. What I want it to do is when it's playing the next sound, I want it to say the name of the sound in that label. So I'm going to go back over here. That'll be under this portion of the code here when we click the indexer. And what we want to do is scroll over here, get your label, and set your label text. Let's do that right here. Drag that over, drag it between here. Right before you hit the player, we want to set the text of the label to be, and as it turns out, we want it to be the same as the sound we're playing. So since the source of that is from the unassigned sound, we can just duplicate this portion here, and that will set the text to be equal to the sound. Now I know that seems a little weird. What it's actually doing is this, and we did the same thing over here when we did this initialize thing for these 8 buttons, is that it's actually not setting the sound equal to the text. It's taking the name of the sound and setting equal to the text. This is one of those little details that the App Inventor code handles for us, is that if you're trying to assign something to a text, it'll automatically look for the name of it and assign it to the text, rather than trying to actually make the file be the text. So that will be the case there. So try this out. Go into your, I'm going to try it out myself right now on my phone. So we'll go to our Connect, the AI companion, open up my phone here, and I know you guys can't see what I'm doing. It's okay. But you can imagine it, I suppose. Use your imaginations. And I'm going to click the AI2 app companion, or as it's called on my phone. Scan that. I think I'm connected to the same Wi-Fi here. Takes a moment to connect, of course. You should be doing the same thing I'm doing. And now it comes up, and one of the first things I see is the names of all my buttons are the names of these sound files in order. My first button has beep, my second button has baby cry, my third button has groan. It does not say these words anymore, anything close to these words. It says these words. So I don't have to worry about going over here to the designer and clicking on this button and giving it a descriptive name, and then coming over here and typing in under text something that makes sense. I can have just the number 1 there. I could have it say any kind of ridiculous crap, and it's not going to change the way the app works, because this code here that we added takes care of that. Another thing I see is I do have this. It's a little bit frustrating that this says text for label right here. So let me fix that real quick. I'm going to click the label here under the components. I'm just going to back up here and just leave no text showing to start with. Now, you'll notice it seems to have disappeared here. But when I click this button on my screen, you guys probably couldn't hear that because, or maybe you did, I don't know. I have my headphones on. I'm going to turn them off. Try again, so my phone is going to play out of the speaker. Oh, now it played pop. And you will recognize that those are not any of these sounds. It's playing from this list. It played the Lightsaber and the Pop and Price is Right and Old Spice and Sad Trombone. And now when I hit it the next time, it should play Lightsaber again. Right. So that clearly is working as 2 separate things in the same program. The last thing I want to do, and this is tricky, is I next want to add yet another button in here that will allow me to assign the playing sound to the next button I hit, and put that sound that was removed from the button back in. So basically what I want to do is I want to be able to have a button that when I hit it, it takes whatever this pointer is pointing to in this list here of the unassigned sounds, assigns it to one of these buttons over here, pulls the sound that's going to take this sound and put it here, and take that sound and put it in the place of the other one. This is not trivial. It takes a couple of steps, and it's going to involve recognizing some things. And I'm realizing at this point that I've recorded almost an hour of video, and it's going to take you that long to get this far. So while I know we're still like, oh my God, are we ever going to get to the point that we can assign sounds to our buttons? I'm actually going to end this video, and that's probably enough for now. I believe that we're off on Thursday, is that right? For my period 4 class? I believe that is the case. Let me just go in here to my compass and double check. And if we're off Thursday of this week, that means that I believe when this class is done, I don't see you again until spring break is over. Let me just double check that. I'll edit this out if it's not the case, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. Oh, come on. Well, this is boring and pointless. I believe all I want to say is have a wonderful spring break. For those of you in my Period 4 class seeing this right before spring break, don't worry about App Inventor or school at all. Get away from it, relax, do something fun. Some of you are going to China, I think. Okay, this didn't even work, so that's great. And I'll see you then.